Hi guys, we're the Sports Addict podcast, and we're back again today with our predictions for the AFC East. So I have the Bills at 10-6, the Patriots at 8-8, Dolphins at 5-11, and the Jets at 3-13. I'll start off with the Jets. The Jets are they're just bad. They have the worst wide receiver and tight end group in the NFL. Their defense has no one except Jamal Adams, and he might get traded, although that's unlikely. They're really hesitant to give out a huge contract extension to him. They have Darnold, but QB can only do so much. This is not like John Elway or Andrew Luck we're talking about. He's not going to carry his team like that. The rest of you really there's no talent on that team. So I really don't see them have. I mean, getting to 5 wins in my opinion would be a great accomplishment for that team. That team is it's in bad state right now. And I don't like their head coach either, Adam Gase. I don't think that was a good hire. He was supposed to utilize Le'Veon Bell, but instead he brought in Frank Gore and other people. So that shows that he has no trust in Le'Veon Bell. Then I have the Dolphins at 5-11. They had a really good draft class in my opinion. They took Tua at 5th overall. That was a good pick. They also took my favorite pick of the draft was actually the pick of Curtis Weaver. I think they took him in the 5th round, and he was really, really slept on. I thought he was going to go much higher, potentially even in the 3rd round. I think he's a good pick for them. And they also picked the cornerback, Noah. I don't know how to say his last name, but
Igbenogany.
Say what?
Igbenogany.
Yeah, whatever that. Okay, yeah, Igbenogany. Okay. They also tried to short that offensive line. They took Austin Jackson. That was a reach, but he still has the potential to be a good player. Robert Hunt. They actually took Raekwon Davis. Their draft picks look really good on paper, but we're gonna have to see how they show out. My main concern with this team and why I have them at 5-11 is the inexperience. They bought in so many different people from different teams. They bought in Byron Jones. All those guys from different teams, and they basically have zero chemistry with each other. And then, especially with the shortened training camp, I don't think that that team chemistry is going to be there. And by the time they start playing together as a team, it'll be too late. And I don't think Tua starts at the beginning of the season. It'll be Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick is really underrated. He's not a top 10 QB, but he played serviceably last year. So, and I think. Tua's gonna have a Zion year. Not I'm not comparing him to Zion, but he's gonna be injured himself during training camp, and then by the time he's healthy, he'll be halfway through the season. He'll potentially play the last few games, but I really don't see them doing anything useful this year. And then we have the Patriots 8-8. The Patriots, they're they're gonna be one of the most watched teams because obviously Brady left. And now they have Stidham and Jarrett Stidham. Is that how you say his name? Stidham or
Wait, where is his name? Where do you have the Patriots?
8-8.
Oh, 8-8. Okay.
Yeah, I'm giving him the benefit of that because they have the greatest coach of all time, Belichick. And their defense is still the same. I mean, they did lose Van Noy, but then they have Gilmore, the best cornerback defensive player of the year. And they have J.C. Jackson, who was really slept on. He's great in man coverage. I think So let me pull up some stats. He had the passer rating that he allowed was really, really good, and so they have two shutdown cornerbacks. They have a good defensive line. They have a great defensive coach in Bill Belichick, and their offense is average. They have Sonny Michael. He's been underwhelming so far, but I feel like how do you say his name? N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, N'Keal Harry. Okay. N'Keal Harry. He was injured most of the season last year, so he'll take a step forward. And I feel like the Patriots season will be defined by the first 4 weeks because they play the Seahawks and the Chiefs. So if they win one of those games or come close to winning one of those games, and Stidham does good in a few of those games, then I feel like they can potentially be better than 8-8. But it's really too much of an unknown. We haven't seen him play enough to really know how good he will be. And then I have the Bills at 10-6. The Bills, they have talent everywhere except QB. Josh Allen I don't know what the hype's all about. He's not that good. I think PFF ranked him as the worst deep ball thrower in the NFL, and his supposedly good characteristic is his big arm. He's not good. They have one of the best wide receiver groups in the NFL. Obviously, they added Stephon Diggs, but John Brown, Cole Beasley, They're very underrated underrated wide receivers. And Dawson Knox is my guy to watch on that team because he had a good year. I feel like if he played with if Josh Allen actually targeted him a few more times, his stats will look much better. He's gonna have a major impact on this team, I think. They also bought in Josh Norman. He did not live up to the contract that he signed in Washington, but I feel like especially now now that he's the number 2 cornerback, the pressure's going to be a bit off him. He's trying to prove himself, so he'll have a chip on his shoulder. So I feel like he'll do okay. But their team is too talented to not make the playoffs, and they're obviously the clear-cut favorites to win the division. So I have them at 10-6.
You have them in the playoffs at 8-8.
Say what?
You have them in the playoffs at 8-8.
No, I have the Bills at the play.
Oh, cool. Gotcha.
10. No, the Patriots are not making the playoffs. Yeah. So
what was the Bills record you said?
I had them at 10-6.
10-6. All right.
Cool.
You guys have any thoughts?
Okay, so for New England, I feel like your take on New England's blasphemy. Okay, so for New England, their defensive line is pretty much terrible. Like, they have no one left. They lost Danny Shelton to the Lions. Pretty much, the Detroit Lions are taking half their team, right? They took away Jamie Collins.
I mean, come on, but this is
who's a breakout star
Belichick. He's done this
last year.
before so many times. He got rid of Trey Flowers last year. He signed like a $16 million contract, and
But
exactly.
At some point, I feel like their team has to come down, and I think this is the year. And I think that the play by Ryan Fitzpatrick, at the end of the year last year to beat New England, I think started the end of their dynasty. And I have the Patriots at 5-11. I have the Jets
5-11. Wow.
I have the Dolphins.
The Jets had the same record as the Patriots. Come on.
Yeah, and I have the Bills at 9-7.
Well, what's your reasoning for the Jets at 5-11? Like they are absolutely.
Okay, so the Jets, I feel like their defense was horrendous. Their defense was better than advertised last year, right? And they're getting back 2 middle linebackers who are actually better than most people realize, and C.J. Mosley and Avery Williamson. And if their defensive line can take the next step in Quinnen Williams, who was the top 3 pick last year, and Jamal Adams actually plays for them, I feel like Sam Darnold can take his somewhat mediocre weapons in Jameson Crowder.
Mediocre? No. They're the worst weapons in the entire league right here. You can't.
Yeah, they are not.
No, they added Denzel Mims. Jameson Crowder wasn't as bad as many people think he was last year. So all they lost was Robbie
Mims
Anderson.
was a second round pick. He fell all the way to the third round for a reason. Obviously, I think he can do good because his college highlights in Baylor, that catch radius was really good, but he's a number 1 receiver. He's getting thrust into that role, so you really don't. He's an unproven. And, you can't – okay, James, that guy's not – he's not a DeAndre Hopkins or Michael Thomas for, Darnold to rely on.
He isn't, but the Jets were good. The Jets were, what, 7-9 last year with pretty much the same amount of weapons.
Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson, how many yards did he have last year? I bet he had less than 1,000, right? So – I don't know. Robbie Anderson, I don't think he had that great of an impact. I think Le'Veon Bell was super underwhelming last year, and I think this year he's going to come out to prove that he's still one of the top tier.
They signed Frank Gore. If you
that's a backup
trust Le'Veon Bell, why would you sign Frank Gore?
Frank Gore.
I know he's a backup running back in the stage of his career. Even on the Bills, he was a backup running back with breakout star Devin Singletary.
I think the best thing for the Jets is to fire Gase by the end of the season and to trade for Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is a safety. It's one of the less important positions in the NFL, but he's probably the best, if not the second best safety in the league. I think if they trade him for a starting cornerback and a starting wide receiver or
draft capital,
I think that could really rebuild their team faster. And because right now Jamal Adams is the only star player they have on their defense, and there's just too many holes on both sides of the ball where trading him is probably their best bet.
So where do you have the Jets, Ash?
I have the Jets at 4-12. Yeah, I mean Darnold
that seems
is
more realistic.
Yeah, I think Darnold is a good quarterback, but he does not have anyone around him that's going to help him succeed at this point in his career, and he's still only 23 years old, so he's still going to need some time to develop. Le'Veon Bell is around 28 or 29. His best years are definitely behind him, and behind that offensive line, yes, they drafted
terrible offensive line, yeah.
Yeah, they drafted Mekhi Becton, but he's 367-pound tackle who does not have a lot of. He has a decent amount of athleticism, but there's also been workout problems and him staying on task That's definitely been
And he was
concerning.
flagged, right? Drug test or
Exactly. Yeah.
I think he's a mauler in the run game for sure, but pass protection he still needs to work on, and that's one of the main problems the Jets had last year was pass protection.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I don't see the Jets' offense as being very good. And we already know their defense. They have C.J. Mosley and Jamal Adams, but outside of
I think the
that,
additions to their defense, along with like some of the guys who are going to take the second step, like Henry Anderson or at the D line and Quinton Williams, I think that's going to boost their team at least a couple wins from 3 wins. I'm going to have them at 5.
yeah, I think, yeah, but still, four or 5 wins is where I have them. I don't see them getting more than that.
Yeah.
where do
What do
you
you have
have the Dolphins at? I mean, I feel like that they're one of the most interesting teams in the entire NFL.
Yeah, I think their draft class wasn't at all like one of the best in the league. They took many risks, like such as Noah Benogany wasn't. They didn't even need another corner. They had like one of the best cornerback duos already in Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. They had plenty of other needs like safety. Like I bet you can't even name one of their safeties. Like Rashad Jones, I think is one of them. And
He's not that bad. He's serviceable.
yeah, he's serviceable, but I think they needed more young talent at the team especially after they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. And another for Miami, I have them at 6-10. In Miami, their offensive line obviously is pretty bad, but Austin Jackson, I feel like is going to be one of the busts in this draft. And Tua and Curtis Weaver have them injury concerns, so you don't know what's actually going to happen with Tua, right? So if Tua starts, maybe they can win a couple more games, maybe reach 8-8 as their peak. But if Tua like sits out and like Ryan Fitzpatrick has to go off again and play in his like 20th season or whatever he's in the NFL, I feel like the Dolphins are going to go back down to earth to like around 6-10. Which where that.
I think the Dolphins have a lot of potential, but I think they're at least 1 year away. They brought in pieces from the draft and free agency, and they're kind of like none of them played together. They haven't had much of a they haven't had much, what's it called?
Cohesion.
Yeah, cohesion. So I think they have one of the best cornerback trios in the league with Noah Igbenogany, Xavier Howard, and Byron Jones. I think they're trying to model their defense around Patriots, who also like to draft corners and pay a lot of money for the best corners, which is what they did with Stephon Gilmore, for example. I think those 3 cornerbacks are definitely going to hold down the fort of their defense to a certain extent, but they're just too much unproven talent around both sides of the ball, where they can't be having a winning season, especially with Fitzpatrick at their quarterback. So I think next season they'll definitely be challenging the Buffalo Bills for the top place in the AFC East. But I think this season 5-11, 6-10 is probably the best.
Okay, so for New England, I have them at 5-11 as well, because I think New England, they just lost too many pieces on this team, and they took a lot of risks in the draft. Like Josh Uche, he doesn't have a real position, and then they took Kyle Duggar as the first safety off the board instead of like more proven guys like Grant Delpit, who was like supposedly top 10 pick if he came out the year before this year. And I think New England just lost too many pieces to regain their form.
I mean, okay, yeah, they did lose many pieces. They lost Brady, but like Brady wasn't really that good either last year. I mean, but
if Brady couldn't do anything with that amount of weapons around him, what is Jarrett Stidham gonna do?
Jarrett Stidham is not their next franchise quarterback. If it was, there would be no reason for why they went
out there. It's gonna tank, but then and they're gonna go for next quarterback.
If they get Trevor Lawrence, oh my god!
I don't think they're gonna get Trevor Lawrence. They're either gonna draft
too good to be in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. I think they're gonna shoot for Trey Lance or Justin Fields, someone like that.
See, the thing is, if I was the Patriots, I'd be going to rebuild stage, and especially since now that you have you're looking for a QB, and you have Gilmore. His salary is $16 million. He's 31 years old, so I actually think that Belichick might potentially even trade him. That seems like a sort of Belichick move to do, trade him for draft capital. So I
think the Patriots' best players are on the tail end of their career. Devin McCourty's 32, 33. Jason McCourty, another older cornerback. Stephon Gilmore, their best player, is also getting older on the older side. So there are also some injury concerns in the offensive line, like Isaiah Wynn, who they drafted a couple years ago. He hasn't been healthy, and their backup tackles aren't much better. They couldn't protect Brady last year, so if Isaiah Wynn isn't healthy like he hasn't been for the last 2 years, it's going to be even worse for them.
I mean, as long as they have Belichick, anything can happen. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
What do you guys have about for the Bills? What's your guys' prediction for the Bills?
Yeah, I have
Actually,
them
go
at
ahead.
11-5. I think adding Stephon Diggs to their offense will definitely be a huge upgrade. They had John Brown as their number one receiver. He's kind of a gadget guy, kind of like Tyler Lockett, but he's not a true bona fide number one wide receiver. So having Diggs is definitely going to be a huge help. But I just think Josh Allen is too inconsistent throwing the ball, and with his decision making, for them to be serious playoff contenders. So I have them winning the division because the AFC West East is so weak. But beyond that, I don't see them doing much.
Yeah. So I have the Bills actually at 9-7, even though I'm real high on the Bills. I think they're gonna have like one of those Patriots type seasons where they take advantage of their weak division and they go 5-1 in the division. But when you face the other teams, I have them going actually 4-6. They play a first pace schedule. They have Josh Allen, who still hasn't been proven. They added Stephon Diggs, but if you look at their defense is really good. They have Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. They have a really good secondary. But if you look at their pass rush, they don't really have anyone there. They have Ed Oliver, who I think
They
was
added
recently
AJ Epinesa. He's
AJ Epinesa, yeah. But
he's not the most
he's
athletic
more
guy,
of like
but
a power run defender more than a pass rusher at Iowa. I feel like he isn't like one of those like pass rushers like Nick Bosa or Josh Allen. Obviously, he isn't as good of a prospect, but I feel like he's
many
less
people
of a
had him
pass rusher.
pegged in the first round though. Like he was the first round talent. Many mock drafts had him go in the first round.
Yeah, he is a first round talent, but I feel like he ran obviously really slow at the combine, which dropped his stock, and it kind of shows like he's one more like a guy like they have on their roster already, like Trent Murphy or Jerry Hughes. He's one of those like this underrated pass rushers who plays better on the run than they actually pass rush. So I feel like the pass rush is going to hurt them this year.
The reason why I'm so optimistic about this team is like no matter how bad Josh Allen is, that those receivers that you have, the tight ends that you have, it's like you can't help but produce. Like there's no other option to go. Like no matter how bad a QB you are, it's not that hard to throw to some people who can get open in like an instant. So
Yeah, I think they're locked, but I feel like to win the division. But I feel like some of their players overperform. Like Devin Singletary had like a career year. I feel like he won't reach that potential again. And I feel like some of the players like John Brown, who had like 1,000-yard season last year, who hasn't been proven. I feel like he's gonna fall back down to earth to like 700, 800 yards. And I feel like I'm not
I mean
a
that's
believer in
good for a
Dawson.
number two though, right? 700, 800. That's really good for a number two wide
Yeah,
receiver.
that's fine, but Stephon Diggs still has to perform. If Stephon Diggs without targets, you know how crazy he goes. Like he went off at Kirk Cousins. So like if Josh Allen doesn't throw him the perfect ball, or throw him like 10 targets a game, he could go off on them too, and it could backfire. You never know. So I think that's the end for AFC East breakdown.